and Bunny Bennett, and we're going to have the opportunity now in just a couple of minutes to be able to have them here on the set and be able to talk with them some about their ministry and about their music and about how they met the Lord Jesus Christ. I never ever get tired of hearing from people about how they came to Christ and what the Lord is doing in their life. Sometimes I've had people to say, well, I really don't have a great testimony. Well, a great testimony is when you accept Jesus Christ, regardless of where you're at, age-wise, background, life. Some people have a dynamic testimony, and there's a lot of action, so to speak. Mine is not that. I was saved as a young boy, long time ago, but Jesus is Lord, and He's been good in my life. Arvie, Bunny, welcome to Nightline. Have you been on Nightline before?
We have not. We've never been.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, and it's a pleasure to have you. Where are y'all from?
We're actually from South Carolina. Well, actually, she's from Delaware.
Yeah.
So we won't hold that against her, though. We're actually headed up that way in a couple of weeks, but she is from Delaware. I'm originally from South Carolina, just TR on up the road a little bit. I was born in '96, but my whole family's from the TR area.
Yeah.
So
still have a lot of family around here?
A lot of family around here. I'm just a hometown boy, you know, and so basically South Carolina is where I've spent my whole life. Wow.
In just a minute, I want to ask you how you met Jesus, but how'd you meet each other?
We were teaching school in East North Street Academy over here in Greenville, and that's how we met. We became friends, and then later on it just developed into a more than friendship.
Right.
That's how we met, which was good because it was always good to be friends first.
Right.
So she knew she liked me, you know.
Yeah.
I can be a pain sometimes.
You don't reckon. You don't reckon. What did you teach?
I taught PE.
Okay.
And she was a social worker, so.
Did not realize that.
Yeah. I taught PE for 13 years, so I don't miss that much. Yelling and screaming and balls bouncing on the floor and stuff. I really
do you miss it? Do you miss school?
Well, I've still been, let's see, Thursday was my last day of the school year.
Yeah.
And we're going to be touring full-time now. And that's our ministry, so I resigned.
So she resigned.
Okay.
So there was nothing
Retired,
to miss yet.
resigned.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. So.
Good deal. Bunny, how did you come to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?
Really, I have to give my younger sister a lot of credit for that. She actually moved out to the Los Angeles area, and she found Christ, and she began sharing with me back in the 90s, and then she came back to North Carolina where I was living at the time. She encouraged me to go to church. Now, we were raised in church, but we had moved away from the Lord for a long time, but she asked me to go back to church, and it was in the year 2000 that I was baptized. And it was in Moss Lake. I heard you say earlier, that's okay to get baptized.
Yeah.
When we were looking at the baptism in Costa Rica. It's okay.
That's right.
Yeah, I was baptized in Moss Lake in North Carolina.
Okay.
So that was 2000.
So where do you guys live now?
Well, we're technically not supposed to tell anybody, are we? That we live in...
We're out of Nashville.
We're out of Nashville, actually, and we've been there 3 years, but... now we're basically on the road. I mean, we're basically full-time musicians.
Right.
And traveling and touring now at full-time. I'm with Winter Records in Nashville. That's who I'm signed with. And so we're on tour now until forever, I guess.
Okay.
Till the Lord tells me to quit singing. And
yeah.
He doesn't seem to be letting me do that. I tried to quit a couple times, but the Lord keeps saying, I guess I didn't give you that voice for you to sit on the couch and eat potato chips, and so I guess that's what it was.
So
how long you been singing?
Well, like a lot of musicians, I've started in church. My first solo was, I think I was about 3 or 4 years old, and my mom was a pianist, and the church pianist. As a matter of fact, she's still church pianist at Locust Hill Baptist Church up here up the road.
Seriously?
So, yes, she still is. And, she's been playing piano forever, and I was the little shepherd boy.
Yeah.
And you remember the little shepherd boy, and so they had me all dressed up. I guess I was probably 3 or 4 years old, and we had practiced this solo for many weeks for me to do this, and and so I had like 3 notes. She was going to play 3 chords or whatever, and I was going to come in. And she played the 3 chords, and I didn't come in. And so I just looked over and I said, "Sue, why don't you play that again?" And so she played them again, and I came in.
And that's your mother's name?
That's my mother's name, Sue. I'm not really sure why I did that, but I did. I guess I was
3 years old,
4 years old. I'm not sure where that came from, but I guess that was stage.
Yeah.
I wasn't too afraid of the
Play it
stage.
again, Sue.
Play it again, Sue.
Play it again, Sue.
My mom and dad are out there watching now, so they're probably getting a trip out of that.
Good deal. Good deal. How did you come to know Jesus?
You know, I mean, I have to give my grandparents, my great grandparents, and my parents credit. It was, you know, we were raised that way. You know, I'm a lot like you, as far as it was just a natural progression. You know, I was raised in the church. We went to church, you know, every Sunday, every Wednesday, always involved, and it was just a natural progression for me to eventually come to accept him as my personal Savior. Now, you know, just like anything, you can't depend on your parents' faith.
Right.
You know, that's not what saves you. But it does help to get you to the point to where you realize yourself that, you know, you're a sinner. And I was about 10, I think I was in 5th grade, 10 years old. I was at Landrum First Baptist Church. And, you know, and we decided, you know, my dad looked at me and said, you know, you feeling like you ready? I said, man, yeah, I do. And I tell you, I knew right then. I mean, because I thought about it, you know, as funny as it sounds, you know, I was thinking about how much cussing I did when I was in 5th grade, you know, and that was one of the things that the Lord convicted me of. I know it's a little thing you think about when you're in 5th grade, but I said bad words back then. And I said, man, they ain't real good. The Lord wouldn't be real happy for me saying all these bad words all the time in school. Because I was an athlete too, so it's like, Lord ain't been real happy with me. So I said, I better get right with God in a hurry.
Yeah.
And so I accepted Christ and got baptized there at Landrum First Baptist Church and right up the road. So a lot of my spiritual life is right here in this upstate area.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. And, you know, of course I've strayed just like a lot of folks do and, you know, back, you know, and have my trials as I've gone through and grown. But that was how, you know, it's stayed with me. My childhood faith has always been there, and
Sure.
you know, and God's always brought me back. You know, I would kind of walk away for a little bit and stray, but he'd always be there, and he'd say, "Come on, boy, you know this isn't you, isn't you," and he'd pull me right back in, and it's always been amazing how he's been there.
What's the greatest challenge that you face as an adult?
Pride. Pride. For me, I've read Andrew Murray's Humility book. He was a preacher back in the 1800s. You may have read it, but I've probably read it 20 times, and I still can't get it right. I feel like, you know, there's a lot of things in my life as far as my pride gets in the way. And I think even now, even with my music now, I don't think God could use me until now.
Right.
I think
Right.
he had to take me through a lot of steps to get me to where I could let go of my music and give it up and not care about it anymore for him to use it. He had to let it die. It had to die. It had to die a hard death for me to be able to say, I don't care about fame, fortune. This is for you. This isn't for, you know, this is for you, God.
Right.
You know, instead of it being, oh, look at me, I'm up here on the stage. I look good, you know, but it had to get to that point because he just couldn't use me. I had it all wrong.
What would you say would be 2 or 3 of your greatest musical influences?
Well, I will have to say, I mean, Johnny Cash has always been a hero of mine, and more so for what he did. We used to go into prisons as well when I had a full band, but going into the prisons and being willing to do those kind of things at a time period where people really looked down on that, I thought, and show that courage. And then he toured with Billy Graham for a long time when
True.
Billy Graham did his ministry, you know, and him being a guy that always was honest about his mistakes. You know, and he made a lot of mistakes, but he was very honest about them, and he was honest that he was a sinner. You know, and the only way he was saved by grace. That grace was the only way he got to where he is. And I know he's always just impressed on me that that's the way I need to be.
His music and his character.
His music, his character, and I think that would be one of them. Of course, hymns. I love hymns. I
listen to them every
I get up
morning.
every morning, and and I got it on Pandora, and I play the hymn state. It's like the Gospels, and I love it. I just play it because I'm like, it gets me encouraged, and there's such good writing in that, the songwriting.
Oh yeah.
In the hymns. Oh, it's just beautiful.
What's your favorite hymn?
Well, I mean,
two or three.
I hate to say Amazing Grace because that's kind of just copping out on you, but it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And then, I guess How Great Thou Art, especially the way Elvis sings it.
Yes.
And I remember singing it one time, and my Uncle Bobby came up to me when I sang it at the church at Locust Hill. And he said, now, your great-grandfather, he said, that really moved me. He had tears in his eyes, Uncle Bobby did. And he said, your great-grandfather used to sing that when he was working out in the fields. And because they were farmers, you know, and had always been farmers. So he sang that song when we'd be working out in the field together, How Great Thou Art. And he would sing it just while he's out there working in the field. And I said, wow. And that's how God lines things up sometimes. Yeah. And I said, man, that's just unbelievable.
Have you written a lot of your own music?
I write a lot of my own music.
Tell me just very briefly about that process.
I mean, it's all from God. I can't take credit for it.
Those were our originals.
Those were all originals that we sang tonight. All of them were originals.
How about are you still going to sing Just a Cowboy?
Yeah, if you
will sing that tonight.
If we have time.
Yeah, if we have time, we'll sing.
Well, we got time. That's all we got. We got the time. Tell me about how you wrote that. How long did it take? When did you write it? Where did you write it?
Actually, I wrote Just a Cowboy. My family farm that's been in my family for 100 years almost now is up in TR. My parents now live there, and they've added on to it, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place up on Tigerville Road. You probably know where Tigerville Road is. And it's over there down past the Dollar General now that's up there. And they're
near North Greenville University.
Near, getting on, once you get near Mountain View School. And I was sitting there, I had a studio in there because I lived there for a while and had a little studio, and it was I guess it's probably been about 12 years now. And I was sitting in that studio, and I was thinking about the verse where Paul talks about how he's always wanting to do the right thing, but there's a part of him that always wants to do the wrong thing. Right. And it's that struggle with your inner man or your inner lady or your inner self. And it's that constant struggle we face all the time of feeling like I'm trying so hard to want to do the right thing, yet I feel like I'm taking 2 steps back.
And you wrote out of that
and out of that whole feeling, Just a Cowboy came out of that because, you know, I grew up around horses. I grew up around farming. I grew up around in the cowboy lifestyle. Told her the other day I never wore tennis shoes till I was probably 8 years old. You know, I had my own I had the cowboy boots.
How about that?
Me and my dad, that's what we wore. We wore cowboy boots all the time. We didn't wear tennis shoes. We wore them cowboy boots, you know, dingo boots.
Well, you had your horse Candy.
I want you to get over there to the guitar.
All right.
And I want you to sing that. Would you do that?
I will do that.
Thank you so much for being on here. I appreciate that. And while they're